Hello! If you couldn't tell by the title and thumbnail already, this video is going to be a little different than my usual ones. I recently held a pseudo lecture for one of the people on my Discord in regards to how to make people whiff. This video is mainly unedited, a lot of talking, question answering, and if you would like to be on the receiving end of all of this, I recommend you join my Discord channel. I might do more of these in the future. I probably will upload them to YouTube whether they do well or not. And these videos serve as a really good way to coach the people on my Discord and go in depth with some elements regarding neutral, offense and defense, things that can't be their own video. That's enough preamble. This is how to make people whiff. Please enjoy. So yeah, we're going to talk about how to make people whiff. We'll start with, have you watched the video I made about neutral?
Yes.
So do you understand the core concepts that revolve around neutral?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
I
put
think
you
the ones in that video.
Yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot then. I'm gonna test you. Go on then. What's neutral about? How can you summarize it?
I mean, the basic concept is that it's a position where both people have equal footing. Nobody has an advantage at the same.
No one's at an advantage, right? It's an even playing field. In that video, I talk about footsies trilemma, the 3 parts of footsies that you need to be playing. Do you remember what that is?
No. But if you say one of them, I will probably remember.
Yeah, well, I'll go over it again anyways. So the first thing is, are you blocking? What do you do when your opponent's blocking, right? If they're just sitting there blocking everything, what do you do? I'll ask you a question.
You throw them.
You throw them, exactly. You walk up, you throw them. If your opponent's sitting there blocking, you walk up and you throw them. That is step 1. Step 2, if your opponent is walking up to you and just throwing you, what do?
You hit them.
You hit them. Exactly. You don't let them. That's it. Now, if your opponent is pressing buttons to stop you walking up to them, how do you beat that?
You stop and then you whiff punish them.
You bait or whiff. More specifically, you walk in, you walk out, which baits them to press a button, which you can then whiff punish. Okay? That's like the core of footsies. That's the core of neutral. Now, that last step, making someone whiff, is really difficult. And so I'll ask you this, because this is a very common theme that players who might not have the strongest neutral find themselves having to deal with. And that is, you feel like walking in and walking out, it's not working, but then every time you go to walk in and like throw or walk in to press a button, they hit you. That's like a very common thing that most people have. I'm gonna talk about actual tools you can use to make people whiff. And for this, I've recorded 3 examples. As you can see, I have 3 examples. We're gonna go over the first one. So this, ignore how like whitewashed it looks. I don't know why it does that whenever I clip anything. This is the first example. I want to play this for you. I'll play it like twice because it's a pretty short clip. And I want you to tell me what you're seeing. Like, how am I making this person whiff? Okay?
Mm-hmm. You're whiffing an unpunishable button.
Yes, I'm whiffing a button that you can't punish at the range I'm whiffing it in, and it baits my opponent to whiff, right? So I whiff light kick, which by the way, it looks so much like Ken's medium kick. If I know my opponent's waiting to try and punish me, I can just fish for a punish like that. That's the first way. Now, obviously it's not foolproof, but we'll try like a real example here. I want you to punish my medium kick. You don't need to do a full combo, just punish it with like your crouch medium kick, all right? You got it? You ready? You ready?
Ready.
There you go. Okay, try again.
Oh.
See that? I mean, I didn't get my punish, but did you even like expect the jab there?
No.
That's what I mean. When your opponent is tunnel visioned, looking for one specific button, it's so easy to just bait them. This is incredibly strong against players who have really good reactions, players who are very antsy, they're very fidgety, and they just want to punish you, right? They'll be walking up, walking in, walking around your space, and the second they see anything, they'll press a button. Obviously, this is also good against like, if you know a Chun-Li is waiting for, is going to try level 2 a fireball, you can press a medium punch or something. This general theme is everywhere, but specifically in neutral, knowing what buttons you can press that don't have a big hurt box so you can't be hit if they do punish it, and bait your opponent to want to try and punish. That is example number 1. So we'll cover example number 2. Same thing. I'm going to play this and you're going to tell me what you see and how it worked. All right?
Sure.
What happened there?
You walked in and out of range.
I walked in and out of range. I mean, this one is the most obvious. This is the most basic one, right? This is what we talked about. Walking in and out of range. And we'll demonstrate it for the sake of demonstrating it. But here's what I'll challenge you. I want you to press stand heavy punch to to stop me walking up to you. I'm either gonna bait you or I'm gonna walk in and throw. So you need to be able to guess correctly, right? You ready? See? That tool alone, it's got a lot of utility. I mean, I know I've spoken about how that's probably the hardest one to use, and you can only really use that once you've shown them the other tools, but that is like the most basic tool. I mean, it's not easy because the thing is ultimately like you can't react to a walk back. You can't react to someone walking in and then walking out. It has to be a guess, and that's why it's such a strong tool. And by the way, just to clarify, all of these examples in the videos I'm showing you are examples that happened in real games I played. I just couldn't find the replays, and so I just recreated them. But the characters, the situation, everything's the same, right? This one is probably the most advanced one. This is something no one teaches. This is how many people are in here? The three of you in here, this is fucking tech, okay? So lock in. This one is very hard to spot, but it's subtle and it's so strong. I want you to tell me what you see here, okay?
Sure.
What happened there? I'll play it one more time. Can you even pick it out?
I don't know why I can press craft medium kick.
So you walk up to your opponent, you stay still, and then you walk back.
Because you want them to come and to walk forward and
yes.
Okay.
100%. You got it. It's incredibly difficult because we're gonna talk about this more later. Each one of these tools, you need to kind of fine tune them to how your opponent plays, and this is the one that you really need to be careful with. But the whole idea of the tool is if you know walking in and walking out of someone's not gonna bait them because they're waiting on that. What you can do is you can walk in, you can pause, and then you can walk out. When you pause, it makes it look like, hey, I've planted myself in your space, I'm just gonna sit here, which baits your opponent to press, and then you can punish with a walk back. This one is incredibly difficult, but that's like the third tool.
This works well after you show them that you walk in and out, because they would wanna, if they see you walk in and out, what they want to do is to walk in and press a button.
100%. Like literally, once your opponent is like, okay, this guy's just walking in and walking out, that's when you use this button. And the thing is, I've done this before. That example that I recorded, I've done it in a real match. That exact situation against Ken, specifically against someone who I know likes to sit and wait. You walk in, you pause, you walk back. Now,
yeah, you did it against me as well.
There you go. Yeah. Highlighting it is really important because, again, this isn't something people kind of teach you. This isn't something you read about. This is just like something that really good players pick up without even realizing it. But it's something that by telling you it, you can kind of consciously start to learn it. So those are the three basic tools that it's all you need. It's literally all you need. But what I want to talk about now is how can we make sure these always work. Just having these three tools isn't enough. If someone knows you're doing these three, how can we make them work? So key thing here is you need to get a read on your opponent. The thing about footsies is it's as much mechanical skill as it is psychological skill. It's not as easy as, okay, walk in, walk out. You need to be able to read your opponent to know what they play like, right? If your opponent's very fidgety, for example, what tool would you use?
If they're very fidgety.
Like if they're very antsy, they're waiting on you to do anything so they can react, what tool would you use?
With a light button.
With a light button. What if your opponent is incredibly patient?
Walk in, wait, and then walk out.
Exactly. And the last one is, this one's quite difficult. What if your opponent is so determined to not whiff? Like they would do anything to make sure they don't whiff a button.
You walk in and grab.
You weren't actually meant to get that, but yeah, you walk in and you grab, right? The thing about neutral people forget is that there's an ebb and flow to it, right? It's like moving water, right? It's never stationary. And it's actually what my next point is about. Not only do you need to read your opponent to be like, okay, are they just gonna wait and react to everything? Are they super patient and just blocking? You need to understand how and when they switch between these two play styles. Because the thing is, someone who's like really determined to like react to everything, they think they're like punk or something, right? A player like that isn't gonna play like that the whole time. They'll go from waiting to react to anything to suddenly playing patient. It's so difficult to spot those moments. And it's in each of those moments you need to apply the different tools, and it's why getting a read on your opponent is so important. Well, actually, do you have any questions up until this point?
Before that, I think this reminds me, I think the whiff punishing thing clicked with me once after I was watching a stream of Punk where he told someone that he will make them whiff. And then I was like, oh, it's something that you do to the opponent. But there are a couple of things you didn't talk about. Like if the opponent doesn't want to whiff, you can also walk in and press a button, because if you walk in and grab, if they have good reactions, they will hit you out of it, for example. And
Yeah.
space traps you didn't talk about.
So
Are
yeah,
those related?
so yes and no. Yes, they are related, because the thing about neutral is everything, right? Neutral counts as everything you can do in this game where you're not in the corner, basically. Everything is neutral, so yes, it counts. But it doesn't count because specifically, I mean, like we've been talking for how long? Maybe like 15 minutes, and all of this is just how to make someone whiff. The thing about a spacing trap, well, to be fair, spacing traps do make opponents whiff, but it's called a trap for a reason, right? It's not like the psychological, like you're playing this mind game in neutral, I'm going to make you whiff. It's not like that. It's more do you know that after Ken does this, he can do this and catch you whiffing, right? Like that's like more of a spacing trap. And if your opponent really doesn't want to whiff, you can just walk up and like counter hit them. Like walk up really far. If your opponent's good, they're not going to let you throw. They'll press a button and you can just counter hit them. So again, that is 100% involved in neutral, and it's super important, but it's not specifically about how to make someone whiff. And that just shows you like how much neutral is. It's so complicated, and you could spend a lifetime refining your skill. But yeah, these tools on how to make someone whiff, you won't win just using those tools. In the same way, we rotate between, am I playing really patient? Am I gonna react to anything you press? In the same way you rotate between those playstyles, you also rotate between the neutral trilemma. You rotate between just hitting your opponent over and over again. You rotate between covering their approach when they try and walk up to you, and you rotate between like just blocking. Knowing when to use these tools, you first need to understand, when do I switch between these phases in neutral, and you then need to understand, depending on what phase I'm in, what tool can I use. It's really fucking difficult. Like it's so hard. I'm talking about this like it's easy, but it really isn't. This shit is very fucking difficult. But knowing these tools, you can go into games and start like applying them and seeing how you can do what. This isn't theory. You can't like study this by watching videos, analyzing matches. You need to play. Experience is the best and the only teacher you can use for this. And it's something that you just have to go into games and play. Go through the match. And when you recognize you're in a position where you and your opponent are playing neutral, in that brief like 5 seconds where you're playing neutral before someone gets hit, that's when you can practice, right?
Yeah. I have a question. What is the option you start with to get the most information?
That is a very good question. Let me think. So there is no one answer to this because it depends on the type of player you are. But personally, at the start of a match, I will walk up to you and press heavy punch. I want to see, what are you going to do if I just walk up to you? Because ultimately that's the first step of neutral. I just walk up to you and I press heavy punch. Every single interaction in neutral, it's adding to your library of things your opponent is doing that you can then use when, again, you're later in neutral in a situation like this and you whiff a button and, you know, get a combo. I think that's most of what I wanted to cover. So a brief overview. We talked about the 3 tools: whiffing, quick buttons to bait your opponent if they're very like antsy and ready to react, walking in and walking out against an opponent who doesn't want you in their space, and the last one is the walk in, the wait, the walk out. That is probably the most advanced one. I believe that's it. That's all the tools. We spoke a little bit about how you need to shift those tools based on what your opponent's doing. And I kind of just want to emphasize that neutral, it's like Play-Doh, it's like putty. It's not like chess. Most people play neutral like it's chess, but it really isn't. You need to understand that, okay, I can give you these tools, I can tell you the theory, but neutral is more about the psychological skill than it is the mechanical skill. Do you have any questions?
Not at the moment. I need to think about it for a bit.
Yeah, you can think about it. I can send you some notes if you'd like. This will also be a YouTube video. Also, we can play some games after this if you want, you know, a bit more hands-on experience. I think that's everything. Yeah, Mubrum, we'll play some games now, but okay. I'm gonna end this, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. I mean, how do I end this? Disconnect quietly, leave the stage. No, that fucking adamant flame, bro. What? Oh. I hate that.
I'll download it in 30 seconds and then it's over. Unless.
Nah.
Okay, we got the anti. No, fuck.